Okay, should be on. All right, so you can see that introduced me as Reg Felix. You can call me Reg. I'm quite a bit older than most of the teachers you're used to, probably older than most of your grandparents because I've been around for quite a while. If you feel more comfortable calling me Mr. Felix, fine. I don't feel offended. But if you think Reg is more comfortable for you, fine. But remember, I'm not your friend. I'm your teacher. Okay? I'll help you with your math, your science, any of your schoolwork here. But these personal problems you may have, don't expect me to be the psychologist or the social worker or a real shoulder to. Besides, I'm a man. Most of you know that men, they think with their head, not so much their heart. I'll tell you more about myself after, so you know that I'm just not an alien from another planet and where my credentials come from. I'm going to give you a course outline when we start your math, and you'll see that that's going to be my email. So you or your parents, anybody has any questions, can email me at this MBED site. It's the same as all teachers. It's on the teachers' pages for BHS. So reginald.felix@mbed.mb.ca. Okay, so the important information, the number here hasn't changed. Remember what Mr. Hashi said, if you're going to be late, if you're going to be missing, call in, let us know, because if you're not, then your mark is absence. When your absentee is built up, that goes into the administration. That's going to decide whether you're going to be suspended or not. Or first of all, they go through the process, reducing you down to a couple of days to Wednesday and whatnot. And I think you know those rules, so I'm not going to go over it too much. But remember, this is your last day. You don't have another option. You know, you have an opportunity to here get a free education. A lot of you come down here, maybe it's by choice. It gives you a better opportunity to get more one-on-one with the teacher. Some of you, maybe you're coming just for a few of the courses that you can't take at BHS. Some of you, it's because you can't go to BHS because of your behavior. If that behavior hadn't changed, it's not going to be acceptable here. You know that should be out the door as well. But you're given another chance. And a lot of you, I think, are taking that chance and using it to your benefit. So hopefully you keep up with it. These are just the websites on here for the transition center for the people who are working from home. I'll be sending them, well, they probably have this link already. Their teachers' pages on the BHS site. The only thing that's going to be different is that when you go to the transition center, you're not going to see information from Jim anymore. It's going to be from Roberta or from me. Okay? But for you people, it's going to be on your Q drive. So. Wants to close all, I'll try that. Okay. Now, every day when I teach a course, I put what's called a learning target on there. It's something I simplify what you're supposed to learn in a day. This is busy today because there's supposed to be a lot of things I'm going over. I wanted to go over some of the housekeeping things that any administrator or any person who has responsibility has to show certain things about the building. If I was giving a speech at a convention, or if I was at a clinic and I was the one up on the stage, the first thing that people do is what? Anybody know? You ask everybody in the audience, would you please ensure your cell phones are turned off? Why? Because they don't want to be interrupted. The audience doesn't want to be interrupted with ringing. So if you come in here and you have your cell phones, make sure it's on quiet or silent or mute or whatever it is. We don't want to have phones ringing. If something's important, they're going to call the transition center of the school. Okay? The next thing is they tell you where to go if there's a fire alarm, where to go if there's some bells ringing. So those are the things I have to go through. Even though you know it, we have to go through it each day. We're going to go through those norms. We're going to look at, I'm going to ask you today just to fill out a form to tell me what type of learner you are. We all learn different ways. Our brain has at least seven different intelligences. We're not all different. Some people are really good at writing. Some people are really good at numbers. Some people are good with their hands. Wayne Gretzky, you all remember him? Hockey player, Canadian, great. He has the intelligence that every time he stepped on the ice, he not only knew where everybody else was, where he was supposed to be, but he would shoot the puck where the person was going to go. He had that perception. That's a kinesthetic ability. A lot of athletes have that. It's a certain intelligence. Other people are good with working with animals, working with outdoors. A lot of people are musical. I'm not musical. I'm tone deaf. But I have other intelligence. And all of you, and each of you, have one or two of those. We have to embrace that. We have to recognize them. So, how are you going to do it, and what are you going to look for at the end? And I'll do that with your lesson for each day. What specifically am I going to learn today? Am I going to learn about how to use the stock exchange? How will I know if I know how to use the stock exchange? Those are the type of things that we'll be looking up here. This may not be lined up. Now, as far as I know, in this facility here, they don't have a fire alarm. She has a whistle. So you all know from years before, maybe Freddie, this would be first for you, you're not going to hear a fire alarm go off. You might hear someone blowing a whistle. Where do everybody go when there's a fire? Which door do you go out? The main door, and where do you go? Right of the building? You go across the street? And where do they go? In the inner court, okay? So if the fire whistle goes off, you're just going to move out and go down to the inner court. We need to get away from the access areas. Even if there's smoke in here, there's just a kitchen fire and people have to come in. The fire truck comes, they're going to come to the front or to the back. They're going to be rushing in. You can't be in their way. So we got to get out of the way. So we go to the inner court. A lockdown, that's a common case. Now, some of you may be taking courses up at the school in the afternoon. Lockdowns are pretty standard everywhere now in the Western world because we have a lot of problem people out there. So the safest area that we can go through in the building when it's locked is right in that kitchen, out of sight. Okay? You don't want to be near the windows. If somebody's out in the streets causing harm to people, you don't want to go out there with your cell phone and start taking pictures because you become one of the victims. Use your common sense. Now, the expectations here, Ms. Hashi already told you some of them. A lot of the rules that we have here. Oh, by the way, if you're up at the high school, they have their own lockdown procedures. Generally, if you're in a classroom, they're going to instruct you to go to probably a corner of the room away from the door, and you to remain quiet, and all your phones and everything are off. When I was teaching in the high school, I would tell people that if their phone goes off, it's going to be broken. I don't care how much money it costs, but if you're going to put my life and everybody else's life in that room in jeopardy because you're going to try and get a phone call or call your parents and some guy's out in the hallway with a gun, my choice is your phone is broken. Okay? So be sensible about it. Make sure it's turned off. You know how to put an airport mode so it doesn't ring. Just, remember those things when you're under duress. You have to look at how do you save yourself. If you're in the bathroom, of course, you got to keep your feet out of sight. You don't go running out in the hallways because that's usually where the guy is, running around with a gun, trying to shoot as many people as he can. And like the police chief told me here many times, when they're called to go to the school or to a place that's locked down, there's a body bag coming out. They're not going to say surrender. A kid is in there with a gun. He's going down. Okay? So no jokes. We see this happening too many times in the world. Luckily, we're living in Canada and not the United States where firearms are so much accessible down there. Now, be on time, be prepared. Like I mentioned before, I don't really care much for being people late. Why do people get fired from jobs? Anybody know? It's for showing up late, not for stealing. people that show up late, fired. I'll tell you more about myself, but I worked 30 years in the industry. I was an exploration geologist for mining companies, project manager, vice president of companies, and I hired and fired many people. People that don't come to work. You have an advantage. You have a chance of making a mistake when you're in school. But you get out in the real world, when you're working with somebody and you're late, it's not, oh, I slept in. No, the guy says, you don't really need this job. Go find something else. You will get fired. Show respect for yourself and others. We all have bad days. I try to go look in the mirror every morning as soon as I get up and at least smile at myself. Try to do something to give me a good day. Some of you may have baggage. We all do. Maybe my wife yells at me. Maybe the neighbors kept me up all night with their music. Something that puts me in a bad mood. But I don't carry this baggage here. So I may look glum, but if I start taking out on you, it's not fair. It's not right. And you have to do the same thing. You have to internalize that a little bit. You have to control it. Focus on what you're doing here. Leave the drama out of here. If you respect yourself, the way you dress, the way you look, the way you smell, you respect other people. And like my mother used to say, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say it. Compliment people. But you don't go up and say, hey, I don't like your hair. Why don't you cut it? That's rude. It's none of my business what his hair looks like. As long as he is presenting himself in a respectful manner, I should respect him too. Okay. Exits. If you're going to go anywhere, you have to let us know. My son is 28 years old. I have a son 28. I have a daughter 45. Another one is in his 30s. Even when they visit or when they come home, they always text me or phone me. They let me know. When he's on his flight, he just left a couple of days ago. He went to Winnipeg. As soon as he landed, I'm here, Dad. Safe. I like to hear that. I want to know that he arrived safe and sound. If they're going to be late, I know with my wife, if I'm not home in time for supper, a lot of times I work here late, and if I come home and her supper's already made, she gets upset if I didn't let her know. So it's a matter of just being polite. So show respect and for others. And if you're going to be leaving, make sure you let us know where you're going. Your devices, we already talked about the mobile phones. When you're in here, I don't want to see them out, okay? I need you to focus on me. When you're going to your stations and you're working, some of you are going to have playlists, listen to music. It helps you relax. That's fine. But if I see you're sitting there and I can see this going on, I know you're texting. You're not doing your work. That's when we're going to ask you to stop it. We're going to ask you to put your phone away. And if you refuse, that's your choice. There's the door. There's 2 doors in this building. You're going to be allowed to take one. Okay. And we shouldn't be hearing your music at the next station. It should be that loud that the person next to you is complaining about it. Okay, so show respect in that way. My wife's a nurse, and the other day she was telling me there was a new girl that got hired. She'd be there for a day or two. She's walking down the hallway with her phone. And the head nurse stopped her and said, what are you doing? She says, I'm texting my friend. You're texting your friend? Do you know where you are? Yeah, I'm working. She said, that's right, you're at work. You work for me. You want to text? You take that phone and you go home. You will not have a job here. While you're working for me, you put that phone away. This is not a time to FaceTube, Facebook, whatever you want to call it, your friends. There's a time and place for everything. So in the workforce, they do enforce those rules. Your workspace, like I said, be clean, garbage free. There's a lot of fruit flies that come around when food are left over. People may not be working at the same station. Sometimes their computer, something may happen, and they'll have to go to a station that maybe you've been using. Okay, they don't want to have to see your papers in there, so clean them up with your number. Then Mrs. Hashi says she's going to have binders for you people to put your work in and can store away and keep it neat while you're here. So that should help with the organization. Smoking, we already told you about that, where the areas are. If you're coming in, by the way, Some of you think marijuana is the only thing that we'll notice. Don't forget, I was born long before you. 60s was good for me. A lot of drugs in my day. I know what it's like. But, you know, grass is not the only thing that people use today, and I know that. And some people take medication for their ailments, and they come to work. Now, if you're taking medication and you're taking too much of it and it's making you dopey and that, well, then you shouldn't be here. You should be home resting. And a lot of people take medication they're not supposed to, just so they can get a good buzz. Grass is not strong enough anymore, so they go to the next step. We're not stupid. I know what you look like. I know what addicts look like. I've worked with them. I've seen them in my family. I know what drugs can do. So don't play the fool with me. Cell phones, we already talked about it. If you're absent, let us know. Your assignments will be on your computer. If you missed a lesson, you're going to have to open up your assignment. If you're having problems, you come see me. Come to my desk when I'm not teaching, and I'll try and help you and pick it up where you left off. Okay? Because you may be home because you're sick. You may be home because there's a need to be home. You had to babysit somebody. You may have a baby to take care of. You might have a funeral, something, a wedding, something you needed to be home for. That's legitimate, and you missed the time, we make it up. We're here to help you there. We're not here to penalize you. Smoking, you want to end up like this guy. Believe me, I know what that's like. My wife's, I have to get her death stick, so, you know, every week. She's been smoking since she's 12 years old. She's an addict, and it stinks. But she goes outside to smoke. Unfortunately, she doesn't realize when she comes back in, I can smell it, especially in the wintertime, because it sticks to your clothes. You smell like a goddamn burnt ashtray when you come in. And some people are sensitive to that. Just be aware of it. Yes, you smoke, and you say you have the right to smoke, fine, but other people have the right to breathe fresh air. So if you got your clothes, I mean, you're here, you're not wearing your big jackets in the wintertime, you carry that stink in with you, remember that. And people that don't smoke, their nose, they're just a lot more sensitive. They smell food better, they taste food differently. My wife, she, you know, I could give her the burnt hamburger, she wouldn't know the difference. Her taste is not the same as mine. That's the way it is. There's your schedule, 8:30 to 10. We'll have math. Then you have your English. We have the break from 10 to 10:15. English continues again after lunch. And then there's probably science. 10, environmental science would be after lunch. And then the bus leaves at 1:45 to go. The double periods is all going to vary for different people. Any questions on that? Jeff, Brittany, any problems, questions? Any concerns? No? Okay. All right. And you know there's no classes on Wednesday for full-time students, and your attendance would be close. I take the attendance, and it'll be checked up at the high school as well. Tomorrow, I'm going to go through each of you. I'll give you a course outline, depending on whether you're taking grade 9 math, the GUMP. This one will only be given in the second semester, and this one here, the grade 11 course. This is the finance and workplace, grade 11. So I'll go through that tomorrow. Now, how am I going to assess you? There's 3 ways that you evaluate it here. I know it's different from what Mr. Chamberlain gave you, or Jim. But your participation is one. That means that coming here, being at your station, doing your work. Maybe that's 20% your mark. I'm going to be very, very generous. Your summative work, that's what you write. You correct your assignments, your quizzes, your tests. 40%. That's a lot. I only give about 25 up at the high school. So I'm exceeding that because you guys are working independently. I think you should be rewarded for the work that you're doing here. So 40%. And then formative work is stuff that we do together to see how well you learn, but it doesn't go into the grading. But it tells me how far you're going along, how well you're doing, it tells you how well you're doing, and it's to check on your learning, but it's not graded. Okay? So this is a chance to give what you think is a stupid answer, just an answer, but you find out whether it's right or wrong. Okay? So I'll be giving things like entrance slips or bell work. That's all formative things, okay? Just to see whether you remember what we gave the day before. They're not going to be marked. There's a rubric that we follow, participation, from being like for attendance. It's late more than twice a week, or is he occasionally late, or is he rarely late, or he's always prompt. So those are the things I use. And I do it for attendance, your behavior, class participation, your listening skills, time management. All of these things are part of that 20% mark. The formative, that's when we give a little bit of bell work, a few minutes at the beginning of the class, maybe 5 minutes or less, just to get you to do a little quick check in math. A little one question problem. Simplify this fraction, convert it to a decimal, just to see if you remember how to do it. That's just a review. I know you did it before. It's just an example. It's not going to be graded. And then your summative work, assignments 40, quizzes and tests 20, attendance participation 20, and your final exam, depending on whether it's a full year or not. Now for grade 9, you're going to have a semester 1, semester 2, so you're going to have to wait till the end of June to get your final mark. But for a semester like GUMP, you'll be getting one exam, 20% at the end. It would be in June, the 20%. So what does it mean? You could bomb your exam, get 0, but as long as you did your assignments and came to class, you got 60%. That's a pass mark. So you don't have to be scared of quiz or test. I fail all the time. So be it. You fail it, but if you do your assignments, as long as I see you're trying, it doesn't have to be all right. As long as you're coming here, you got 60%. You're passing that. You're getting the credit. And of course, if you don't do the work, you don't get a credit. That means you got to do it again. Okay? And if you don't get any work, you don't see the final grade. They can actually hold back things up at the school, especially if you get textbooks and that. How are we doing so far? All right, so this is the way I do things like in class. Brittany and Jeff, I know it's long. I talked more today than I usually do because I'm going through the quicks, but I'm asking you to be polite, right? No, you're talking to each other. It's rude. It's interrupting. If you have a question, just ask me. I'll stop. No, I'm not going until you understand, and I want you two to stop talking. Okay. Entrance slips, 5 minutes, maybe less. Learning targets, I already showed you what they're like. I'm going to give you the new lesson, assign you a task, usually a worksheet, and then you'll have quizzes, maybe one a week, maybe every 2 weeks, and then you'll have tests as well, just to see where you are at those stages. Nothing new from the high school. This is where you get your assignments. You go onto Windows, File Explorer. Now, some of you, for me, when I open up, I don't have a Windows button. These are all of my different directories. I find if I go right to File Explorer, there's all my directories. So for you guys, you would go to the student share. There's the drop pickup box. Go down to look for my name, Reginald Felix. Your pickup box. Your semester 1. These are the people that are doing the catch-up work. And then whatever grade it is. If it's Math 10, first day info. I've actually recorded and put a PDF on this for this one here. So when you go to the next unit, you'll have your assignment right in there. No, I'm just going over the stuff and I'm showing you. Now, if there's something that you say I didn't understand, you can go back and open up that first day intro if you want. The work, when I give you work, then it's due the next day at 3 o'clock, just like what Mr. Chamberlain did. Okay? Yes? Does what? It starts at 10. Okay? So I'm going to stop right here.